Payday 3 launched on September 21st, 2023 to a storm of negative reviews, including the video that I made just a few days after its release where I was kinda disappointed with the game, and the initial backlash was largely due to the technical issues that made the game nearly unplayable for many players. For instance, PlayStation users found themselves locked into the tutorial for hours, unable to actually play the game that they just paid for. Meanwhile, those on Xbox and PC who managed to get access to the game and were able to play were soon hit with server errors within just a couple hours after launch. In fact, on launch day, it was pretty much both consoles did have issues with the game, and it was mainly PC players who were able to play on launch day. But within just a couple of hours after the game launched, the servers went completely down, leaving no one able to play the game that they just spent their money on, as it was also an online only game, so if the servers are down, well, you're out of luck and you can't play the game anymore, unless you want to play the tutorial 50 times. Unfortunately though, these issues were only the beginning of Payday 3's troubled start. But before we get any further into this video, I just want to take a few seconds to say this video is sponsored by me once again, so it's not really sponsored. It's just we're just taking a moment to say, hey, if you end up enjoying this video, hit that subscribe button, maybe share the video with someone, maybe even hit that like button and leave a comment if you're feeling ultra kind. But you know what, let's just get right back into the video. The technical issues were just the beginning. As the servers started coming back online and people could finally play the game that they paid for, the feedback didn't get much better. Complaints ranged from the lack of content at launch, like small amounts of heist and guns to choose from at launch, to frustrating design decisions like the progression system being tied to challenges and achievements instead of actually completing heists and securing loot. But not in an actual way that could have been fun. Achieving higher levels at launch Payday was very grindy to achieve, but in a way where you were punished for actually playing the game. If you wanted to complete heist or secure loot, which is the main gameplay loop of the game, well, that didn't level you up at all. That just got you cash, which there wasn't much to spend your cash on when the game first launched. In fact, there's really still isn't. You can get way more cash than you'll ever need to spend. But in order to level up at launch Payday, you need to complete challenges. Now, most of the time when you were playing Heist, challenges would just complete without having to pay much attention to them because there's just so many of them. But once you get to around level 50, 60, you're just going to have to start paying a lot more attention, and you're just going to have to enjoy the game just a little bit less because you won't be completing Heist if you really want to level up the fastest way possible. At least you will just have to go into a heist, complete the challenges that you need to complete, and then just leave the match. Just leave the heist and do that over and over again and not even complete the actual heist or secure any loot. Just complete the challenges and you'd still level up anyway, and you'd level up faster because completing the heist and securing the loot didn't matter for leveling up. So basically, if you played through a whole heist, you're basically wasting your time because completing a heist would not reward you with any XP, so you would never level up from that. As an online only game also, it lacked basic matchmaking features that even the previous game had, like a server browser and lobby creator, or as it's known in the Payday world, CrimeNet. The previous game had it. Why not this game? Many people felt the game lacked the depth compared to the previous game, Payday 2 also. From the skill tree to the pre-planning, all of it was simplified and worse somehow. Like for example, in Payday 2, they had a whole section when you were readying up for the heist. It was a whole tab. It was called pre-planning. You click it, you got to see a map and layout of the heist, and you got to set like ammo boxes, med kits, armor kits. You got like a certain amount of favors, and you could use your money and favors to place different things like health kits, ammo kits, armor kits, sometimes zip lines, special heist favors, like some heist had something special, like a different way that you could extract, and like a quicker way for being loud, or sometimes it had stuff for stealth, like the alarm would take longer to go off, and all sorts of stuff like that. And in Payday 3, you're able to choose medkit, ammo, armor, and sometimes a zip line. Sometimes they do have like special heist things, but you'll never really pay attention to the pre-planning in Payday 3 because it's choose one option and then you're done. It just places it wherever it's set to place it. You don't get any options. You don't get to see the layout of the map before you do it and set where you want the med kit and the different choices that you might have. There's just none of that. Pre-planning has basically been completely cut, and even after all these updates, it's still hardly there. I mean, it is there slightly. You do have a few options, but compared to the second game, it's not really noticeable. It's not really there. They just kind of cut it out. In response to the backlash though, patches were rolled out to fix server stability, trying to improve matchmaking and add more content, free and paid, and they eventually outlined a roadmap for future updates, hoping to win back their player base. And even at one point, they launched a Operation Medic Bag that was supposed to address the big issues of the game while adding quality of life improvements. But the main problem was the updates were slow and few and far between. The game ended up being a failure though in more ways than one, but today we're not here to talk about everything that went wrong with Payday 3 and all the inside details behind the scenes, but instead we're here to ask one simple question, and that is Payday 3 worth coming back to? And the answer to that is it depends. Payday 3 has received many new heists, new weapons, new perks, new masks, new characters, new enemy types. All around, it just has more content, and all of the content is also more polished than it was at release. Less bugs, less glitches, better stability, even a better main menu that for some reason kind of reminds me of Batman. The movement system, which was already a significant leap forward from Payday 2 at launch, continues to stand out as one of the most noticeable and notable improvements in Payday 3. Navigating through Heist feels incredibly fluid with responsive controls that make sprinting, sliding, and vaulting over obstacles feel natural and dynamic. This enhanced movement adds a new layer of immersion and makes pulling off daring escapes or quickly repositioning during firefights and just all around just moving around the map more satisfying and just more fun than it's ever been. The game itself also seems to be far better optimized compared to its launch state. When I first played Payday 3 at launch, there were numerous technical issues ranging from minor stutters to full-on crashes that disrupted the experience. However, now the game runs pretty smoothly and frame rates are consistent, and I haven't encountered a single crash during my recent play sessions, which speaks a lot about improvements made by the developers. Additionally, the gunplay has been refined to feel fluid and engaging. Every weapon feels impactful with satisfying recoil mechanics and punchy sound effects that make each shot feel meaningful. And whether you're going in guns blazing or taking a more tactical approach, or just going in loud with silenced guns, that's the way I like to do it. The improved gunplay just ensures that the combat is not only fun, but also rewarding, and these enhancements make the overall gameplay experience in Payday 3 a significant upgrade from its predecessor. There's also more enemy variety, like there's one that launches drones, you gotta take out the drones and he like repositions itself and he can jam your UI so you're not really sure how much ammo you have or health or something like that, and it's kind of cool and it does make it more interesting to fight. In fact, the variety of enemies in Payday 3 compared to Payday 2 is an improvement, I think, because while there might be slightly less variety of like total enemies than in Payday 2, but I think each different enemy in Payday 3 has more impact and is more meaningful than the varieties in Payday 2. With that said, the game still lacks weapon variety in certain categories. For example, I like using LMGs in Payday, I just do, but currently there's only one option in Payday 3, which feels like a missed opportunity for more diversity in play styles. And don't even get me started about the secondary weapon selection, because it's very limited. There's hardly any options for a secondary, and they're mainly just pistols. It's like all pistols, there's like basic pistols, there's a deagle, a Desert Eagle, there's a few revolvers, and then there's like one SMG in the secondary category, but it's very limited on what secondaries you can bring in, and it's an area where the game desperately needs to expand. And on top of that, the weapons store UI is awful in my opinion. They could use a serious overhaul, or they could just revert it to back to what it was in the second game. It would be much more user-friendly if the weapons were organized into distinct categories like assault rifle, shotgun, LMG, other, whatever, like Payday 2. Like if the primaries and secondaries were separated in two different stores with each weapon type neatly grouped up, I think that would just be way better. Basically what Payday 2 had, but they could improve on that too. And for some reason, UI design in newer games seems to be a recurring issue. I'm not really sure why, and Payday 3 is no exception. I'm just always blown away when a new game releases, or it's just a newer game, or a game gets an update like Payday 3 or Hunt Showdown, for example. Hunt Showdown, a big one. The UI just sucks for some reason. I'm not sure why they keep getting worse and worse UI. Call of Duty is another issue with this too. Call of Duty has terrible UI. What is it with modern games and terrible UI? I just don't know. On a brighter note, the new Heist added to the game, like Boys in Blue and Syntax Error, are great additions. Personally, I like Boys in Blue more than any other new level due to its level design and layout, and personally I just like the look of the map. And there are more new heists than just that, but we're not going to get into all of them. There are also remastered heists, which are another highlight in my opinion. I think they should remaster more heists. In fact, I think they should bring all the classic heists and basically all the heists that were in Payday 2 and just bring them back into Payday 3. You know, it may not like make sense story-wise, and I don't think everything has to be tied to the new story in Payday 3. I think they could just add some of the old levels back as just a fun heist to play as. Like where's the fun? Just add some more fun in my opinion. But classics like Cookout remain as fun and chaotic as ever, while the newly added First World Bank remaster truly shines. It's easily one of the best heists in Payday 3, proving its timeless appeal as one of the original heists from Payday the Heist. It's also probably one of my favorite heists in Payday, period. And two other of my favorite heists, which I think would be cool as a addition to Payday 3, but one of them probably actually they both probably won't get remastered and put into Payday 3, but I think they would be really fun. They would at least add to the fun. I'm not sure how they would mix with the story, but they would at least add some fun, which are Hoxton Breakout, a really fun heist. That's one of my favorite heists. Along with No Mercy, the hospital heist. That's really good. Those three heists, First World Bank, Hoxton Breakout, No Mercy, those are my three favorite heists probably of all time. However though, not everything has improved. The new skill tree system still feels underwhelming in my opinion compared to the one in Payday 2. The old system I feel like it just offered more flexibility, more build variety, and was just better to look at, period, in my opinion. And it offered some skills that just aren't in Payday 3 anymore. And on top of that, the absence of perk decks still is another disappointment. They added a lot of depth and customization in Payday 2 in my opinion, and I think perk decks need to make a return, and their exclusion here just feels like a step backwards. One area where Payday 3 has made clear progress is the leveling system. Now you can actually level up by completing heists and securing loot, rather than being forced to grind through challenges and just go into heists to complete the challenges and then leave before actually completing the whole heist. This change makes progression feel more rewarding, and it ties it directly to gameplay, which it should have been all along, and it is a significant improvement. And another area where the game just really shines and has really stepped up is the animation team has done a really good job of adding a bunch of animations for literally like everything you do. I don't know how many people are going to talk about that, but the animation team has really stepped it up, and they're doing some of the best work in Payday 3 right now, because the animations are great. They're amazing, and they're a great addition, and every time I see one of the animations I go, wow, there's been a lot of work put into some of these animations, which most of the time you wouldn't even notice some of them if they didn't have animations, but the fact that there is animation is awesome. And in fact, I'm gonna play some of the animations right now, because they're such a small addition and not everyone's gonna notice, but they improve the game a lot in my opinion, and they're just nice. I mean, that's only showing a little bit, but there's like literally an animation for everything that you do in the game almost, and it's just so much better. It's definitely a thing that I've noticed, so I just want to say props to the animation team. They did a really good job. They also added crime.net back into the game. Well, kind of. I mean, it's a little bit different, but it's basically the same, just without like persistent lobbies. I mean, there's persistent lobbies if you group up and then everyone presses the button to stay together, but it's not lobbies like it previously was in the previous Payday game. So, I mean, lobbies are still almost non-existent, but it's still a big improvement with crime.net and lobby, or not even lobby browsing, but server browsing, and you can see what people are playing, what heist people are playing. You can choose what heist you are playing better and what difficulty, if you want to play it loud or stealth, and what people are doing. So it's a big improvement. It could be a bigger improvement if they improve on it even more. I'm saying improvement too much now, but it makes the game more enjoyable and actually more playable, because you can actually get into the stuff that you want to get into. You don't have to just click on a heist, select the difficulty, and then just hope you find a match. You can either create your own lobby, or you can try and find a lobby of a certain heist on a certain difficulty with a loud or quiet playstyle. Not gonna lie, I feel like somehow I managed to say that in the longest, most convoluted way possible, but I still said it and I'm gonna stick with it. Overall, while the new heist and additional content has made the game much better and more enjoyable than it was at launch, Payday 3 still falls short in certain areas, especially when compared to the depth and variety that Payday 2 has. There's still some work to be done, but the game is undoubtedly in a better place. That said, the big question still remains: is it worth playing? And I think if you've already purchased Payday 3 and haven't played it in a while, like you got it on sale or something, or perhaps you haven't touched the game since launch, I'd say it's worth giving it another chance and playing it again. The improvements in stability, gameplay, and content make it a much better game and a much better experience than it was initially. However, if you don't already own Payday 3 and are considering buying it, I'm not sure you should, which kind of saddens me because I am a fan of this franchise. I've played Payday the Heist, Payday 2, and Payday 3, and I've even played the mobile game before it was discontinued. So I'm a fan of Payday. I want Payday to do well, so this hurts to say, but I think there should be some hesitation in buying the game right now because the future of this game is uncertain. While the updates have been solid so far, it seems like content for Payday 3 might be slowing down soon, and this is due to the surprising partnership between Pubg and Payday. I almost couldn't believe it, and I thought it was a joke when I first seen it, to be honest with you. But as a part of this collaboration, which they are apparently doing, 25% or 1/4 of the developers who are working on Payday 3 are now being redirected, and they're going to go work on bringing the Payday experience to Pubg. And I put air quotations there because I don't know what that means. Whatever that means, it raises concerns about Payday 3 being left behind. This decision also creates a weird situation. Pubg, a free-to-play game that is mainly Battle Royale, will now offer a Payday-inspired experience sometime in 2025, effectively becoming a competitor to Payday 3, or at least having a mode that competes with Payday 3, apparently, according to its Payday-inspired experience that's supposed to be in it. Still not exactly sure what that means, but it means something. And this move feels counterintuitive for Payday 3. Not only are Pubg and Payday catering to very different audiences, but the crossover seems unlikely to significantly boost Payday 3's player base. Instead, it risks diluting the identity of Payday while funneling potential players towards Pubg, where they can get a similar experience. If it's bringing the Payday experience, they can get a similar experience, but for free, since Pubg is free. I'm just having a really hard time seeing how this partnership could benefit Payday 3 in the long run, or in any way, to be honest. While the collaboration might bring some initial attention, it feels like a misstep that could further fragment the player base, which is already dwindling and pretty low. But who knows? I admit maybe I could be wrong and this crossover will work out better than anyone expects. I mean, only time will tell. But for now, if you're already a fan of Payday 3, I think it's worth jumping back in just to see how far the game has come. But if you're on the fence about buying it, or you're even really thinking about buying it in general, you don't already own it, you might want to just wait and see how this partnership works out and see what the future of Payday 3 has in store, because I'm not sure it will work out well, at least for the Payday franchise. And with Payday 3 being an online only game and server based, if the servers get shut down, you won't be able to play the game online with your friends. You'll be stuck playing the game in the solo beta mode, which will probably never come out of beta, and you won't be able to play with any friends. And not to mention Payday's soon to be other competitor, Den of Wolves, which is apparently made by some of the previous devs of Payday 2, but that's for another video. We're not really going to get into Den of Wolves right now, but that's another competitor that might kill this game even more. But anyways, that's going to be it for this video. It's getting quite long, so I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to hit that like button and leave a comment below. Tell me what you think about Payday 3 and its future. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button because you want to be subscribed. And I'll see you next time.